Good evening and welcome to another night of the 10 days Daniel Detox. We have looked at the broken brain, the healing of the broken brain. We have looked at the relationship between a toxic colon, constipation, a diseased liver, alkaline blood, increased inflammation, mucus, phlegm, and the breaking down of the life forces of our bodies. Last night, we began to look at the impact of the emotions on our well-being. We tried to understand what our emotions are. And tonight, we're going to look at some practical ways that we can manage our emotions lest they manage you. You cannot manage your life until you manage your emotions. You cannot manage your relationships until you manage your emotions. You cannot manage attainable goals until you manage your emotions. Our core emotions are contentment and happiness, anger, anxiety, and depression. Our basic emotions then would be fear, anger, sadness, enjoyment, and contentment. A study was done in 1995 by Goldman. Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage one's emotions. Poorly managing our emotions can create severe problems in our relationships. When you declare, "I hate you," it breaks down all the barriers, for example, in a solid, strong relationships. High intelligence and a good education does not guarantee success. Control over your emotions or success in life. However, while intelligence quotient gets the degree, it is the emotional quotient that helps you to succeed in life. Have you ever gone to a high school reunion and you look around and you exclaim, "She married him and they have 7 kids"? This is a truism that many alumni have found at their class reunions. The life of classmates doesn't always turn out as expected. Our lives, if we are not managing our emotions, will not turn out as expected either. Success in life is much more based on your EQ, your intelligence quotient, versus your IQ or your intelligence quotient. EQ most likely contributes to more success and enjoyable living than your general IQ. The good news is that EQ is learned rather than inherited. So if it is learned, then we can unlearn, we can learn and relearn. It can be improved. In terms of intelligence, individuals with good high IQ, they're usually viewed as the most likely to succeed, even though they don't always excel. At the same time, others who had a mediocre academic performance, but they go on to manage their emotions, to be familiar with their emotions, they have gone on to become outstanding achievers in the professional realm of the world. While IQ may contribute as much as 20 times as a factor that determine life successes, there's a remaining 80% or more in determining other forces. In other words, the overwhelming majority of our ultimate success in life is determined by non-IQ factors. So the IQ gets us into Harvard, but our EQ makes us the most outstanding chief executive officer. The reason behind this surprising fact is so simple. Success in life is much more based on our EQ than our IQ. Out of control emotions can make even the most intelligent person behave in a manner that is simply not smart. So what exactly is our emotional intelligence quotient? Do we all have it? Absolutely. Every one of us in this room tonight are endowed with an intelligent and an emotional quotient. EQ is really a measure of characteristics which researchers have confirmed are very important to successful and enjoyable living. This is what is very, very important. People with high EQs, they have control of their impulses and also their emotions. That is important to remember. They are trustworthy, they are conscientious, they are dependable, and they are responsible. And so we have to be mindful as we choose our life partners. If you are a director or a manager, you do not necessarily want to hire someone with a high IQ, because the person who is really going to get the job done is the one who has a higher EQ versus an IQ. They are usually very flexible people. They are able to adapt to changes and are also open to constructive criticism. So they don't behave like brats when they are told that they are, that something is wrong in the way they perform their tasks. They're very innovative. They have novel ideas, new approaches, and positive and good information. In addition, people with high EQs are aware of their limits to their abilities, and they also have high expectations, reasonable expectation. Emotional intelligence has been shown to help people think more clearly, communicate more effectively, reduce polarizing statements, and develop unity in a group setting. These skills are particularly critical in today's knowledge-oriented workplace where harmonious efforts are more critical than ever to organize success. What we are really talking about is emotional maturity, an openness and a willingness to develop, to grow, and be mature in the way we handle others and ourselves. In personal relationships, an individual with a high IQ has the ability to step aside from their emotional reaction to an upsetting event and look logically at what really occurred, what really happened. Their honesty allows them to understand other points of view as well as potential solutions to the problem. While your first job out of college will likely be directly related to your IQ, as we said earlier, how far you advance professionally in that job is much more related to your EQ. And often people with high IQ, they don't understand this. They think the reason they have been passed over for a promotion is that the rest of the world doesn't like them or have enough intelligence to recognize their IQ. They often feel slighted. They feel that life is unfair. The truth is, employees do recognize intelligence of the emotions in promotion decisions. The intelligence being recognized, however, is not the intelligence quotient, but the emotional quotient. Someone with a high EQ, they are willing to delay gratification in favor of the greater good. So these are your people who will roll up their sleeves and get into the trenches to be sure that the job is done. Whether you place them on top of the desk or below the desk, they are going to perform at their optimum. Individuals with high IQ understand their emotions and feelings and can express control, and they can also manage them. They usually have insights into the feelings and the views of others. So it's not me, myself, and I. It's not what I think. It's not an autocratic participation, but more a democratic participation. So they usually have insights into the feelings and the views of others and more easily understand the dynamics of a group and their role within that group. They are willing to delay gratification, as I said, for the greater good. And those with a high IQ, they also are more willing to motivate themselves to achieve their goals and maintain a positive and realistic attitude. As a result, they can often earn promotions more quickly than those with a higher IQ. And essentially, people with a high EQ see the big picture. So they are able to ride or to avoid rather the emotional roller coaster. And we will see when we get to spiritual health, we will see how as a result of Daniel following this lifestyle, he was able to discern, he was able to avoid emotional roller coasters, even when there was an attack on his character. So there are some basic unhealthy emotions. And we said anger, anxiety, and depression. Now, there are 5 basic components of emotional intelligence, and I would like you to pay close attention to this. The first thing is a person who is emotionally intelligent, they learn to effectively manage their emotions. So they will find themselves soothing and calming themselves when they're upset. They're not punching walls. They're not kicking chairs. They practice self-control. So if we are unable to control our appetites, we are going to be an emotional mess. We're going to be an emotional roller coaster. So controlling impulses, expressing emotions at the right time and the right place. So this is not the partner or the friend who would call you out in the presence of strangers or less familiar people to humiliate and embarrass you. This is someone who avoid sustained anxiety, anger, and depression. They handle inevitable defeats and setbacks in life. So when I saw that, I always thought about how I never competed in sports. And one of the reasons is because I was very nerdy and not very athletic. But I realized that inevitable defeat and setback in life and sports was not my thing. And so that was a degree of poor emotional intelligence. In other words, I would have been a sore loser. So preventing negative emotions from dominating our judgment and problem solving, tolerating frustration, and accepting and valuing ourselves. So remember last night we spoke about the ditches that we build with the negativity. We spoke about the amygdala and the limbic system. A few nights prior to that, we spoke about the broken brain and how we heal our broken brain. And when we do that, we accept ourselves. The few pudgy pounds that we have gained during the holidays, we recognize it's time to reset. So we ventured out on a goal, it wasn't accomplished. We go back, we restate our goals, we make it more attainable. We give those goals a more realistic, measurable time. So we must learn to manage our emotion. The second component is we must recognize emotions in others. Since we are not hermits and we do not live alone, married, single, employed, unemployed, unless you're living in a cave, we must interact with others. And the emotionally intelligent person has that discernment to recognize emotions in others. When the council came together to set a trap for Daniel, he did not reciprocate. And in the end, they themselves came to the realization that it was only one area in Daniel's life that they could find a problem, and that was his relationship in his obedience to God's law. We're going to be looking at Daniel's spirituality on Thursday and Friday nights. They They seek first to understand and then to be understood. So this is not a selfish, self-centered person. They have that discernment, that ability to read and understand someone else's emotions, their feelings and attention. So there is the working of a spirit of discernment. You don't have to ask your partner, did I hurt you? Are you angry with me? You are going to come up with ways and means of bringing light and love and life into their lives. You are a good listener. You encourage others to talk about themselves. You're not always taking the show. This is an area that I have struggled with in the past. I'm so passionate about what I believe in, I can go on and on and on. But over the last 4 or 5 months, I've learned to listen a whole lot more. Recognizing emotions in others, of course, it depends on attentive listening. So you're not on your phone, you're not playing a game, you are looking at that person in their eyes, you're engaging. It's not a screen between you and the other person. You are actually encouraging others to express their thoughts and feelings, and you are outside of that feelings. You don't hurt and apologize and justify your actions. Oh, I'm so sorry I said that, and I'm so sorry you did that. But you know, had you not done this or had you not said that, I would have never responded this way. So there is empathy and compassion. These are extensions of the ability to recognize another's feelings. So you realize, for example, that I just lost my husband. I am a little sad. And so you are weary of what you say and how you say it and what you do it. Like one of my nieces had once said to my husband, you're like touches Maggie, easily sensitive. So the third thing is we learn how to manage relationships. Remember I said, unless you're a hermit living in a cage, you must learn how to manage relationship. People who excel in this ability to handle relationships smoothly, connect with others, are appropriately assertive, can negotiate solutions to conflict and mutual problems, and they can handle difficult people. Highly independent on knowing our emotions, managing our emotions, and recognizing the emotions in others. The fourth quality of an emotionally intelligent individual is that they motivate others to achieve goals. Their goals are attainable. So you don't have pie in the sky goal. You don't say, for example, that you want to purchase 4 homes by the end of the year and you don't have a budget and you're still purchasing all the fly sneakers and all the fly, and you're flying the sky. Your goals must be realistic, they must be measurable, and they must be attainable. It involves planning, persistence, and delaying your gratification and tolerating frustrations, because if things are not going well, as most times we know Murphy's Law, if you cannot control your emotions, you want, like a toddler, immediate gratification, or else at 40, 50, 80, you're going to to throw a tantrum. You learn to resist impulsive behavior. You recover from defeat and setbacks. And I thank God for this, because that's a gift that He has given me. I don't accept defeat. I may go down, but I don't remain there. And it's not me. It is a power within me, and it is a power outside of me and above me, and in you also. Once we learn to resist our impulsive behavior, we can recover from defeat and setbacks, because in life we are going to have setbacks. And for many years, I lived in guilt and frustration. And the one thing I'm going to say to you tonight is that grief and all of those toxic emotions, remorse, they weaken you. They drain your mental and physical batteries. So they find satisfaction in current activity. This is not the person who's always bored, who's kind of manic, in the pond, out the pond, here, there, everywhere. This is a person who can sit, be happy, be content with their thoughts, their plans, and their reasonings. Now, don't be an overthinker. Don't live in your head, because that's another issue. Where the emotionally independent person is also dependent on knowing and managing emotions. The fifth quality is you learn to motivate yourself to achieve goals. So there's never 100%, because while I could have been a sore loser from the age of 9, I was able to motivate myself, and I have achieved some of my goals, but not all of them. Even what we're experiencing in these 10 days in this room is helping me to achieve some of my long desired goals. The goals are attainable, but they must be set. It involves planning, persistent, delaying gratification, tolerating frustration, and resisting impulsive behavior. So we're pulling from one character trait or one principle to the other. The good news is, they recover from defeat and they set new goals. This is someone who bounced back. I always say, when I face the storm, I am shaking, I'm afraid, I'm anxious. But once I get in the middle of the storm, I can feel invincible. So finding satisfaction in your current activities and dependent on knowing and managing your emotions. The good news. This is what I love about these bodies that were wonderfully and perfectly made. The good news is, since emotional intelligence is learned rather than inherited, it can be improved. You may have noticed the word emotion. Well, it is a focal point in 3 of the 5 components. If you take the E away from the word, you get motion, which is related to motivation, factors that activate, direct, and sustain goal-directed behavior. Now, I had gained 25 pounds during the last days of my husband and my mom's life on earth. And so I had to shed those pounds. So I decided I had to walk at least 30 minutes each day for 3 to 5 days a week. I had to watch my intake, and then I was inspired to start a walking group. So shout out to the Use It or Lose It walking group. What we do is we post our steps, we share positive thoughts, and we encourage each other. We are accountable for each other in our progress to walking for health. So there's a close relationship, as we said, between the EQ and motivation. It is a prime reason why a high IQ doesn't automatically ensure success in life. In order to succeed in life, we must be motivated. Motivation has everything to do with EQ. It is also a critical component to success and achievement. Now, if you have someone who can motivate you, that's excellent. But we are individuals and we should be striving to motivate ourselves. If we get motivation from a partner or a friend along the way, a coworker, kudos to you, great. But we've got to learn to motivate ourselves. I want to say, especially to mothers out there, your children are looking up to you. The world blames, they pin the mom for a child that has not cultivated emotional intelligence. And so if you are not emotionally intelligent, it is very, very unlikely that your children will be emotionally intelligent. And if your children are not emotionally intelligent, it is very likely that your grandchildren will not be emotionally intelligent. Remember what I said. It is a learned behavior. It is not inherited. Hence, it can be improved. There are numerous factors that affect our intelligence quotient. Although IQ is more influenced by genetics and hereditary, it does play a role in EQ as well. Children learn emotional intelligence. If you're going to lie in bed all day and say you're sick and I can't move and I can't this and I can't that, you are setting a style of living, a lifestyle for those that follow you will take on. So children learn this behavior or a lack thereof from parents. Remember I said, and we're going to look, when we deal with social health, we're going to look a little deeper into that, how our children are impacted by what we do and what we fail to do. Sexual abuse in childhood also impacts the amygdala and the limbic system. You remember the amygdala is in the area there where the temporal lobes meet the occipital lobe. And the limbic system is in the cerebellum, or in the area there close to the brain stem and the precortex area of the brain. So it's the frontal lobe, which is the seat of the will, the seat of morality, the seat of spirituality, organization, and highly, highly cognitive reasoning abilities. So together with the amygdala, the frontal lobe and the limbic system, they play a significant role in raising our EQ. So developing a high EQ becomes more difficult in those situations, but it is not impossible. Watching entertainment and television during childhood also results in an dramatically increased limbic system. Additionally, your current level of emotional support will affect your EQ. Physical factors such as a lack of sleep, a lack of sleep, a lack of exercise, poor nutrition also affect your EQ, particularly in the reaction to an uncontrolled, stressful event. Nutrition is emerging as a particularly important factor affecting emotional intelligence as well. We've looked at nutrition, digestion, ingestion, absorption, elimination. We've spoken at the pathways, the trenches that we dig in our brains with the negativity and the lies that we have heard and believe. So one other factor that eclipses all else in terms of impact, and that factor, as identified by numerous intelligence experts, is simply what an individual thinks. The wise King Solomon says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you feel you're a bum, if you feel you're a failure, if you feel you cannot, you will not. You will not. And so, in other words, your moment by moment thoughts have a tremendous impact on what you do with your personal EQ. Negative turmoil, producing thoughts nearly always contain gross distortion. So in the process of renewing the mind, rejuvenating the body, we will have to restore or replace our emotions. We have to get rid of the negativity and focus on the positivity. So while the thoughts appear valid on the surface, they are actually irrational, twisted, and wrong. Tomorrow night, we're going to be covering social health. And we're going to be looking at how we have to stop believing the mislies, the lies that were fed to us as children in the neighborhood, in the school, even as adults, in marriages. No, you're not ugly. No, you are not dumb. No, you are not silly. No, you're not a failure. You know why? And this is where God and his word are crucial to our well-being, because the word of God says we are wonderfully and perfectly made. If we were to entertain the thoughts of how he created us, the psalmist says they are more than our ability to entertain, because the thoughts that he thinks towards us are more than the sand, the grains of sand on the seashore. The prophet Isaiah says that Jeremiah rather, he says, the thoughts that I think towards you, they are not evil thoughts. They are words of peace, and they are thoughts to lead you, to get you to an expected end, whatever that is. You want to overcome obsessive compulsive behavior. You want to learn to control the choice of your food. You want to create the kind of atmosphere where your body will, your brain cells will burst sacks of and release chemicals that will alter your thoughts, your mood, as they release the happy hormones like serotonin, etc., etc. So these, to begin improving your IQ, you must change the way you think. And despite whatever effort may be involved, there is sure happiness, there is improved relationship, you become so heightened, so emotionally heightened, that you will take the time and you will spend that time in valuable pursuit, well worth your investment as well as your effort. So we can actually consider both the words you are using as well as the thoughts that you are thinking. Straightening your thinking will improve your mood, your personal relationship, and life in general. And you can improve your EQ, and with it, your prospect to personal happiness. And despite whatever effort may be involved, the success, the happiness, and improved relationship that you will enjoy because of your heightened EQ will make the time spent in this valuable pursuit well worth your investment in this area. So, how do we optimize our brain? How do we help our brain to become all that it ought to be? These brains, you imagine that when the brain cells die because we're not hydrating, we're not exercising, we're not sleeping, we're not temperate, we're not getting out into the sun, and we're in a mess, and the cells are dying, but the macrophages are there on duty, and they come in like the sanitation workers during a snowstorm in New York City, and they become very busy and they clean up things. And then you have another set of blood cells, white blood cells, that come in and stimulate as soon as the cleaning is done. They come in and they begin to stimulate new growth in the motor and the sensory neurons of our brain cells. Since we are wonderfully and perfectly made, so well do I know that. I've always said, if you want to believe God or not, just begin to study anatomy and physiology, which is the structure and the function of the human body, and pathophysiology, which is the deviation from the normalcy of our cells, our tissues, our organs, and our systems. If you begin to look with microscopic eyes into who we are as humans, I believe you will change your idea. So by meditating, chanting, singing, cultivating faith, hydrating, improving on your nutrition, and exercising, the meditation, the prayer, the chanting, the singing, cultivating faith will bring us into a determined state of spiritual well-being. When we hydrate, we are nourishing, we're liquefying the cells in the brain and the blood. Perfect health requires perfect circulation, for the life of the flesh is in the blood, and good blood and good circulation is the fountain of life. When we improve our nutrition, when we subsist on an alkaline diet, we're able to digest and produce glucose, amino acids, fatty acids, phytonutrients, and all that we need to build the cells in our brains. When we exercise, we enhance the musculature of the heart, the blood vessels as they move to and from the brain, bringing oxygenated blood to the brain and removing deoxygenated blood from the brain. Avoid stimulants and harmful substances. It might elevate your mood for a little bit, but as soon as you are released from that superficial mood elevation, synthetic mood elevation, you're going to crash. And every time you crash, you're going to need more of that stimulant and more of the stimulant and more of the stimulant. And it is very, very harsh on your liver and your kidney. The liver is significant in eliminating any kind of waste in the body. Get out into the sunlight between 10 and 2 p.m., 10 a.m. The sun stimulates the pineal gland, which is also right there in the area of the temporal lobe, and it stimulates the production of melatonin. Melatonin, when you get into a dark, cool room, is released, and it helps you not just to sleep, but to rest. Deep breathe and ventilate your room, and keep filtering plants in your room. Snake plant, peace lily, among many others. We're going to talk about that, I believe, on Friday night when we look at the 10 physical laws of health. Those of you who are Bible-believing people, you know that there are 10 moral laws. Well, we're going to look at 10 physical laws on Friday night. So deep breathe and ventilate your room and filter your room. Don't rebreathe the carbon dioxide from your spouse or your bedmate. Get to bed before 10 p.m. We went over that. We looked at the light-dark cycle, the circadian rhythm, and how poor sleep tears down the telomeres and what was the word? Helen gave it to me last night, and I wrote it somewhere, and I can't readily find it, but it's that little steel piece at the end of your shoelaces. And when we don't sleep and when we're stressed, it unravels. It's loose from the end of the gene, of the DNA, the strands of the DNA. And just like a shoelace, it begins to unravel, and it gets shorter and shorter and shorter. And we are really shortening our lifespans as we diminish our life forces. Remember, the brain rids itself of its waste overnight. Improve your relationships, effective communication, forgiveness, and loving unconditionally. And we're going to explore that just a little more tomorrow night. Take time to learn financial management, especially in these crucial days. Financial stress is a big part of any stress in a relationship. And an emotionally intelligent person will plan for tomorrow. They wouldn't deny themselves the blessing of living in the moment, but they're also in wisdom setting up a system for tomorrow. Learn, retain, and apply the knowledge that you have learned. Set and achieve attainable goals. Creativity, motivation, and life satisfaction. I wish you the best in your quest to maximize your brain's potential. In the next half an hour, we're going to look at some of the things that have a negative effect upon our emotional intelligence. You know, you need to start asking questions. Do I feel happy about myself? Do I think others appreciate the kind of person that I am? Am I able to take criticism well? I'm not upset if I don't get the praise that is due me. What I know about myself is more important than what others say about me. My dad always said that to us. It's not what I do that makes me valuable. It's who I am. I'm kind. I'm loving. I have empathy. I don't expect to fail. I just expect to do my best. I don't worry too much about my image. I don't know and expect both my abilities, accept rather, both my abilities and my failings. I know that I'm special in God's eyes. How do I see myself? Am I kind? Am I harsh? Am I lovable? Am I silly? Am I attractive? Am I cruel? Am I happy? Am I thoughtful? Am I lonely? Am I caring? Am I depressed? Am I intelligent? Am I sad? Am I pleasant? Am I selfish? Am I angry, wise, mean, friendly, upset, foolish, good, cold, aggressive, inhibited, clever, obedient, ignorant, cheerful, greedy, toxic, sensible, bitter, reserved, generous, bad, considerate, gentle, sensitive, charming, affectionate, irritable, stupid, decent, sympathetic, quarrelsome, helpful, passionate, extrovert. These are some of the things that we need to find out about ourselves. Here are some emotional pain words. Be mindful what you say. Don't tell another human being that they are foolish. Don't tell them they're good for nothing. Don't hate yourself. Don't carry guilt with you. Don't be insensitive to your needs and the needs of others. Do not tell yourself that you are no good. Do not tell yourself you're ugly or you're trash. Do not tell yourself that you are disgusted with yourself. Look yourself in the mirror. Write out self-approbation, motivational quotes, and tell yourself you are wonderfully and perfectly made in the image and the likeness. And as you clean your colon and you clean your liver and you alkalize your blood, your brain becomes healed. Your relationships are rebuilt. Your body becomes rejuvenated. Your toxic emotions are replaced with positive emotions. And you are able to move on and have a better quality of life. Grief, anxiety, discontent, remorse, guilt, distrust, these all tend to break down the life forces and invite decay, disease, and death. Disease is sometimes produced, and it is often greatly aggravated by the imagination. It's a terrible way to get attention. Many are lifelong invalids who might be well if they only thought so. Many imagine that every slight exposure will cause an illness, and the evil effect is produced because it is expected. Many die from diseases, the cause of which is wholly imaginary. Courage, hope, faith, sympathy, love, these all promote health and prolong life. A content mind, a cheerful spirit is health to the body. and strength to the bone, to the soul. A merry heart doeth good, like a medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the soul, the bones. And next Saturday night from 7 p.m. to 1 a.m., we're going to have a prayer vigil, and we are going to be studying the relationship between gratitude, praise, and worship, and its effect on the immune system and our health and our well-being. Beloved, this lifestyle is all inclusive. It's the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit, our finances, and our relationships. And we have to take charge tonight. We have to purpose in our minds. We have to determine that we are going to regrow the pathways in our brains. Every time we entertain a negative thought, every time we rehearse the negative messages that our grandparents heard, our parents heard, that they pass on to us, that we are now passing on to our children, we create a ditch in our brain. But every time, for example, you've always heard how you're just like your no good father, and you'll never amount to anything like your unambitious, lazy mother. And you begin to tell yourself, I am not lazy, I am ambitious, and I am some good. I am not any no good person. Right away, you create cells that fill up that ditch in your brain, and you are beginning to transform the way you think. As a man thinketh, so is he. So when you begin to entertain positive thoughts and you begin to recreate those pathways, aren't we wonderfully and perfectly made? The fact that our brains are broken, they can be healed by cleaning our colon, healing our liver through a lifestyle that includes 10 physical laws of health. Change your thought, you change your action. You change your action, you change your destiny. You change your destiny, you change your character. You change your character. Those who are hoping and believing for something greater and better, you're on your way. But if you continue to live among the turkeys in the lowland, you can never rise and span the air like an eagle. And we were intended to be eagles, to rise. Each day there should be a determination to be better. And you are not competing with Mary or John. Your only competition is me, myself, and I. I want to be different. I want to be kinder. I want to be less critical. No, I don't want to gossip, even in my most intimate circles. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to begin to exercise. So that swollen joint that is so painful, I'm going to start walking and stretching. And now that I know that that kind of pain is caused by the diet and the lifestyle, I know that I'm weak, but I know that I can do all things through a divine power that gives me both the desire as well as the determination to do all things because he gives us the strength. We're going to pause This is the big piece of her health. Big area. We are emotionally stunted in an average. And we have to determine tonight. Tomorrow the sun will not rise. Tonight, rather. As I go to bed tonight, I am not going to sleep until I convince myself that I am going to help you, myself, to be a better and a different person. Forget the lies that you have heard. Forget them. Put them aside. You can if you strive hard enough. Hydrate, trust in God, develop faith, pray, sing, meditate, journal. Oxygenate those cells in your body. Exercise daily. It doesn't have to be rigorous. I did 30 minutes of stretching today, and I walked for 15 minutes at a moderate pace after having lunch. So godly trust, open air, daily exercise, sunshine. You have to get out in the sun. Even if the clouds are there, the sun doesn't disappear. If you can't walk, you're wheelchair bound, you're severely arthritic, and there's snow, open the drapes, put your chair next to the window and sit. You're going to get sunshine. Proper rest, getting to bed early, not eating for at least 3 to 4 hours before bedtime. Getting to bed early, not even gospel music or the Bible. No TV, because the white light from your screen will stimulate your brain. And even when your tired brain and your tired body goes into limbo, the brain waves are still going to be working because of the direct effect on the white light and your brain. You are not going to experience what is called REM sleep, which is rapid eye movement. That's the sleep that our babies experience when you see their eyelids fluttering. They are in a deep sleep. Remember, the brain dumps its waste at bedtime, and at 1 a.m., the liver, which is crucial in metabolism and in elimination of toxins, dumps its waste around 1 a.m. So you want to go to bed and all the cells, all the tissue, all the organs, all the systems refurbished during the hours of sleep. So that if you went to bed between 9 p.m. and 12 midnight, when melatonin, which slows the body processes down, is at its peak, for every hour of sleep would be equivalent to 2 hours of rest, recuperation, and rejuvenation. So even though the goal that you set today that wasn't accomplished, you will wake up tomorrow with a clear mind at 3 a.m. when your energizing bunny's hormone cortisol is being secreted by the adrenal glands. And when you look at your journal or your vision board, you're going to say, you know what? This goal is not attainable. It is not measurable. So I need to restate and redefine my goal. And so lots of water. I can't stress. As I sit at my desk every day, here is my warm tea and here is my lemon water, which I drink all day. I refill and refill and refill. Your juices, your fresh fruit and vegetable juices, your herbal tea, your lemon water, plain water, coconut water. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. What I recommend is that you measure your water, invest in a container, measure your water, Stop wasting your resources to buy bottled water. Invest in a Brita filter. If you can't afford the more expensive filters, a Brita filter has activated charcoal, and activated charcoal has the potential to remove bacteria and many microbes and chemicals from your water. And make sure that your water is fresh, that the filter is changed, I believe, every 3 months. And take that money that you would otherwise have spent on bottled water and buy your green leafy vegetables, your cruciferous vegetables. We're going to talk about that on Thursday night. And just invest that money in wholesome plant-based food to nourish. And of course, temperance is very, very important. A balance in life is necessary. Too much of one thing is good for nothing. So avoiding those things which can harm your body, and even using in moderation what will bring about healing. And of course, adequate nutrition. And remember, nutrition is not only for the body. What are you feeding your mind? What are you feeding your relationship? What are you feeling your soul? What kind of thoughts, what kind of words are you saying? What is your financial situation like? You know, the more you give, the more you receive. A clenched fist will never open to receive the blessings that should come our way. Don't be selfish. Don't be greedy. Don't be stingy. Give, and it will be given back to you. And what we give, as we will see in our social health discussion tomorrow night, it's not only material. Look, I made an appeal. I told you when my brain was broken, I would be embarrassed to ask for donations. I am not ashamed to ask for donation, because as God heals my brain, the vision keeps getting bigger and wider. And I don't have those resources, but I've also appealed for human resources, which have been on my prayer list the ending of last year onto this year. And I have volunteers. I have people who have volunteered in the technical department for the production of the book and the journal. And also, I'm going to be reaching out and marketing. I'm also going to be reaching out to people who are talented with graphic design. When you decide to make a goal, when you decide to accomplish your goals, when you become a good steward, a better steward, things are going to begin to fall in place. And we are going to have great success in this life and whatever other life you believe in. Again, I say, beloved, I wish above all else that you would prosper and be in good, great, better health, even as your soul prospereth. God bless.